Here we go. I would like to call to order the City of Glen Ellyn City Council meeting, October 10th, 2022. It is now 5:35. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone who is in attendance that would like to say a short prayer or some kind words? It's an opportunity if anybody would like to speak to that. If not, we'll defer to Ms. Williams for our prayer.
Gladly, Mayor. Father God, we stand before you with an humble heart, with thanksgiving on our heart, thanking you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon each and every one of us in this room. We pray, God, tonight that you will lead, guide, direct. We need understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. Help us to make the best decision for the betterment of this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a seat. Ms. Odom, we are ready for roll call.
Mayor White,
Present.
Vice Mayor Hancock. Here. Councilwoman Williams. Here. Councilwoman Kovich. Troy Slatter, Public Works Manager.
Here.
Dan Smith, Finance Officer. Here. Georgina City Community Development Manager. Here. Julie Donaldson, Records Clerk. Here. Chief McQuay.
Here.
Lieutenant Dodd.
Here.
City Attorney Andrew Hand.
I'm here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the city's website and City Hall bulletin board on Thursday, October 6, 2022.
Thank you very much, Ms. Odom. Before we get started with the meeting, as I always do, those of you that have been here before, go over a few basic ground rules of the meeting. If you would like to speak, we certainly embrace it and welcome it. Those that would like to speak, if you sign up, you will be allowed to speak first. After those that have signed up, if there's someone who then decides they would like to speak, we certainly will let you speak. When we begin the public comment section, it will be on non-agenda items. If you want to speak to an agenda item, something that's on the agenda, you have to wait till that agenda item comes up. So initially, the first part of the public speaking is to address council with something new, something old, something different, and something strange, meaning it's not on tonight's agenda, right? A couple other things. When you come up to speak, you do have your 3 minutes. You have to give your name and address. Keep in mind that everything you say is being recorded and is permanent public record. Public record means anybody, and I mean anybody, can ask for these records for examination. So what you say is permanent record, so think about what you're saying and how you're saying it. If you have any device that could beep, click, squawk, or do anything like that that could interrupt the meeting, please turn it off at this time. If you feel compelled that you need to talk to your neighbor, the acoustics in this room are very good. Council can hear the murmur, and it is disruptive. If you have to speak, we ask you to go outside the building and take care of your business. One last thing is decorum. We promise you we will treat you with total respect if you come up to speak. We're excited about your being here. We want to hear what you have to say. On the other side of the coin, we do expect those that speak and those that participate in this meeting to be respectful to this body of council and to be respectful to staff. As chair, it is my duty to not allow anybody to single out any individual council member or any staff member for ridicule, embarrassment, or harm. And I will do my best, if I think that's happening, to shut it down. But we do want to hear what you say. We want it to be constructive. We want it to be positive. So with that said, we'll get going. Our first point of business is, as many of you know, Luis Kenny, our longtime council member, planning commissioner, multiple terms of duty over many, many years. She has 2 months remaining on her term before the elections, and for personal reasons, she cannot fulfill the last 2 months. So council is going to discuss and make a motion to appoint someone in that seat that's empty right now. So with that said, Andrew, do you have any input that you can give us on how we go about doing that?
Mayor, on the city's agenda, this item has, Mandy has laid that out with a motion, suggested motion from council, followed by the oath of office, where that'll be taken, and then Ms. Mendoza would be a council person and able to participate in the meeting. I do recommend a slight adjustment that I discussed with Mandy to the proposed motion, just to clarify that the appointment would extend not just to the election, but until the seat is then filled pending the results of the city's 2022 election, which of course she would be filling then at that time, but I just want to make it clear that we don't have a gap in between. And so the language I would suggest is, I move Julianne Mendoza be appointed to City Council seat number 2 until the seat is filled pending the results of the city's 2022 election.
Thank you very much. So Mandy, when it comes time, be prepared to repeat that motion for us in that wordage. All right, before we get to that, like all things, this is official city business. So before council creates a motion and discusses with a possible vote, we allow it for public comment. Has anyone signed up, Mandy, to speak on this agenda item?
No, sir.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this agenda item, either in support or against, or anything different, someone different than what's currently being discussed? Okay, please make note that the public has had an opportunity to speak. No one has spoken. So Mandy, we close public participation on this point. Mandy, would you repeat that motion?
Yes, the motion would be to move to appoint Julianne Mendoza to City Council seat number 2 until the seat is filled, pending the results of the city's 2022 City Council election.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion made by Vice Mayor Hanchard. Do we have a second?
I'll second. At 2 seconds.
Anita, we'll give that to you.
All right.
Second by Ms. Williams. Okay, council, we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any discussion?
No, sir.
No discussion, so we are now, Attorney Ann, we're ready for a vote, correct? We want to do this right, so there's no challenges. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Julianne, welcome to council.
I just need to give you her. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me, please. I, Julianne Mendoza,
I, Julianne Mendoza,
a citizen of the state of Florida and of the United States of America,
a citizen of the state of Florida and of the United States of America,
and being employed by or an officer of
and being employed by or an officer of
the city of Pinellas and a recipient of public funds,
the city of Denellen and a recipient of public funds,
as such officer or employee,
as such officer or employee,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Florida.
that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Florida.
And I need you to sign that. Real quick. And we'll have to go to the We'll be all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
So Julianne, once you get comfortable in that seat, pull it up, adjust your microphone, all that good stuff. And if you want to take a minute or two and just kind of say hi to everybody, might as well break the ice and say something right now. Tell us a little bit how you're feeling right now.
Well, I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling grateful that the council supported me and coming on the seat just a little bit early. And I'm feeling grateful to Louise, of course, for all of her service to the city. And I'm grateful to all of the people who have supported me and encouraged me. And I'm thankful a lot of you for being here today because you guys helped make it happen. So thanks, and I'll do my very best.
Okay, those of you that are following us on the printed out agenda, we're on page, the second page right now. When we're at the top, we already have the oath of office. Next point of business is the council comments regarding the agenda. Council, does anyone have a comment about the agenda as it's posted and printed? Just the regular. Consent. That says regular agenda. Okay. Right, so mine's a little different. All right, so any comments on the consent agenda? All right.
Public comments?
All right. No comments by the council. Is there any comments by the public on the consent agenda, which would be items number 1, 2, 3?
That's it.
And 1, 2, 3. All right. There is no public comment on the consent agenda, which is 1, 2, or 3.
Mayor, may I say something?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out on number 3, because that's on consent and there's not an actual motion. I just noticed that we didn't lay that out probably exactly as it should be, but Andrew might advise that we pull this since there's not the appropriate motion there, but it would be to authorize the mayor to sign agreement between Amendment 1 to the agreement with MT Cosley for professional services and terminate the contract that we currently have with ECFRPC. There is a termination letter attached to that, but because the motion isn't clearly written on the agenda, I'm not sure how you would prefer to handle that.
Since that's been raised, I think the best thing to do would just be to pull it from the consent agenda and take the vote on the consent agenda and make that the first item, providing an opportunity for public comment off the consent agenda on that item.
Do you need us, the council, to say that?
Well, the motion for the consent agenda would be to approve it as amended to remove number 3.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing item number 3.
Ms. Williams, second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. So for clarity, number 3 is going to be discussed separately on its own. Okay, any discussion on the motion and the second?
I had Vice Mayor and then Ms. Williams.
That's correct. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Congratulations, Ms. Julie, your first aye.
Number 3 will be discussed separately. Okay. Now we'll go back to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda, which is now
We just did that.
number 1 and number 2?
Yes,
I thought
that
we were
was-
just removing.
No, I said we were making, I made the motion to accept 1 and 2 of consent agenda, removing number 3.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Very good. Very good. All right, so now we're dealing with number 3.
Public comment.
So we have a public comment on agenda item number 3.
Yeah, can we have a staff discussion first, the explanation?
Sure.
Okay, Georgina?
Yes, this is the existing agreement that we have with MT Cosley. Currently, is just for building, the building officials inspections and the regular inspections of residential properties. But we're adding to the existing agreement, we're adding planning, grant writing services, and GIS. And what we're doing is we're terminating the existing agreement with Eastern Central Florida Planning Council, and amending the existing agreement with MT Costley to use them instead of Eastern Central Florida Planning Council.
So quick question.
Okay, thank you. Now we have public comment. Any public comments on agenda number 3, correct?
I don't have anyone signed up.
Okay. Anyone in attendance that would like to speak to agenda item number 3? Okay. Yes. Okay. Ms. Dunn?
Kathy Dunn, 113 at 6 Hendricks Drive. Is there going to be an explanation as to why we are doing that? Terminating the agreement and redoing it? If that, it would be helpful to the citizens to know why. Thank you.
Georgina, this
Yes, this explanation was done in the prior council meeting, but I can repeat what I said. Eastern Central Florida Planning Council has been providing planning services that are not exactly our expectation. So we decided to go with another company that will provide the same services. And these services are going to be only based on need-based, pretty much. So if we need it, we'll use them. If we don't, we'll avoid using them and having the extra expense. The fees associated, just in case anybody wants to know, it's going to be the exact same fees. We were able to negotiate that with MT Costley, have them keep our fees at the same amount, so our budget won't be impacted in any way, shape, or form because this budget item was already set aside for this type of services. So as you all know, I've been going to school to try to get my planning degree, and I've been doing a lot of the planning portion of it to avoid the city from extra expense. But there are certain things that go beyond my expertise, and I have to have this company to back me up in case we need it. In case we need
So
it.
basically, we're just changing companies that are going to provide the same, if not better, services, and they're charging us fees that are the same as well.
Exactly.
Your recommendation as a staff is that we change companies
Yes.
with either better service and certainly no additional expense.
No additional expense, and as a token of kind of a giveaway, we're getting a grant writing service, which we don't have right now. So in case we need that expert assistance, we are going to be able to have it there, just in case we need it again.
Okay, I think we've got it. Ms. Dunn spoke to it. I hope, Ms. Dunn, that helps answer your question. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to agenda item number 3? Okay, public has spoke. We need a motion and a second.
Can I just ask one quick question
Sure.
of staff? Do we need to have a separate motion for terminating and then accepting, or can we
You
just
could have
do it
a
all?
motion to authorize the mayor to sign Amendment 1 to the contract and sign the termination letter with ACFRPC.
I make that motion.
We have a second. Okay, this is to do both with one motion, to sign and to terminate. Okay, council, any discussion? Now we have a motion and a second. Okay, there is no additional discussion. All in favor on agenda item number 3?
Aye.
Motion of it. Opposed, passes unanimously. Okay, seems like we got a little bit sideways on this. We've already approved the consent agenda, correct, Ms.?
We're at number 4.
Okay. So now, if you're following along, we're at department head reports. Before we do that, Ms. Odom, you do a public hearing statement?
No, we'll do department head reports first.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, you pick out your department heads in the order that you want them to go.
I just have one thing quick to say. We were contacted by the county regarding the Blue Run Park restroom project.
requesting a meeting with the mayor and Chairman Balak and the county staff, and they've given us a couple of dates, November 14th and 16th, I think, to choose from. I sent the email to you today, Mayor, and so they wanted to get together and have a meeting to discuss that project before Thanksgiving. So we'll be working on setting that up.
Wonderful news. So we're making progress on moving toward the restroom, correct? Right? So is Bill Vivert in the audience still? Okay. Make sure he knows. So on November 14th or 15th, we'll be moving with...
14th or 16th.
Yeah, one of those days, we'll be meeting with the county. Commissioner Zalek, who has really been more than helpful on this, is going to be part of that meeting. So looks like he's decided to dig in and champion this. And I do know the county really wants to get this project going during the off-season. They don't want to be doing this in the height of the season. So hopefully we can get everything going. We'll see, but at least this is progress.
Just as a correction, the alternate dates that we got were the 10th or the 16th.
10th and the 16th? Okay.
10th or the 16th, yes.
All right. Who else was Odom?
Go ahead, Jim. Nothing? Troy?
Council, I got 4 items on the agenda, so I'll give you my updates when we get to the items.
Okay.
Georgina, you had a
Yes.
short report?
Too short, but I'll try to make it short. I have 28 total code violation cases for the month of September. 15 are still open. 13 new cases within the month of September, 9 of which have been complied with. 4 are still remaining. Just a friendly reminder regarding placement of political signs. I wanted to advise that code enforcement is going to be taking care of the political signs that are misplaced. As far as the code is concerned, placement of political signs in the public rights of way or on any property where a voting precinct may be located is prohibited. When edge of right-of-way is questionable, signs shall be located behind power poles or fence lines. Political signs in residential districts shall be temporary and not exceed 6 square feet in area per sign face, and the signs in non-residential districts shall not exceed 16 square feet in area per sign face. Each residential parcel can have no more than 1 sign per candidate or referendum issue. Political signs shall be allowed in agricultural zoning districts provided they have a 50-foot separation. So we ask that everyone abide to this rule so that we don't have to enforce the code. We just wanted to let you know that the main focus of code enforcement is revising the code and bringing revisions back to council for review. We are in the process of hiring a certified code enforcement officer, and until we do, we're kind of on a standby basis of code enforcement, just trying to do as much as we can with what we have. As far as permitting, we have 15 total permits issued, 6 were commercial, 7 were residential. There are 2 businesses, new businesses in town. One is Provista Diagnostics. They are located at 20372 East Pennsylvania Avenue. And then we have Ink Spots Media. They're adding one, they're at the same location, 19120 East Penn, but they're just adding an additional unit. So just so you know. And as far as Main Street, we're getting ready to do a second meeting with stakeholders. Hopefully we can do the selection process for the board members and finalize the vision statement for Main Street so that we can finalize the letter that we need to send to reorganize Main Street, which needs to come in front of you all next November. As far as new business, MPO reached out and sent this really nice email where they notify us that the U.S. Department of Transportation invites communities to do a letter of interest for eligible organizations seeking technical assistance, planning, and capacity building support through the New Thriving Communities Program. They are focused on helping communities develop and deliver transportation projects that support and align with broader community goals to advance a pipeline of comprehensive community-driven infrastructure and community development projects. So with your concurrence, I would love to see if we can prepare a letter of interest and see what we can get from that for the city. There is a lot of information on that, and I can forward you an email. I don't want to drag this information too long, but I can forward you all an email with all the details on this project. But it sounds really interesting and very very good for the future community development, especially for Main Street. So I'll share that with you later on. And then just, so my next item is going to be part of the agenda, so I'll leave it last. Thank you. I'll be
Okay. Absolutely, yes.
Great. So Georgina, I just wanted to ask a couple questions. The first one, you had cited the codes, the new codes that were issued. What would you say of the 20 codes in September? Is there a theme of what they're kind of,
Most of them are for high grass, derelict vehicles parked in properties, things of that nature. Most of them all are on that.
and then I heard you say that there's some start of the revision of the code, and I'm just wondering, real generally, what's the strategy that we're using? Are there certain areas of the code that we're targeting, or do we have any outside assistance with this, or what's the strategy for the revisions of codes?
We have about 25 different areas in the code that have been identified to have issues that are not clearly, that are not clear. So we are trying to revise those sections, and we've been talking to the city attorney to see if we can do it as a kind of a bulk revision as opposed to having it individually, but that is something that we're working on as we speak.
Okay. And certainly you could cue us in as to what those 25 areas were defined as.
They are in the board at my office. You're
Oh,
welcome to come by and look at
Super,
them.
I will. Hey, my next follow-up, if I may, is on Main Street. We had met some time ago after the first, I think maybe about 6 weeks ago, after the initial meeting for Main Street. And I came in as a citizen. We talked a little bit about letting the community know that this is getting started and that we're interested in people who want to be on the board. One of the suggestions I made, because I know that we don't have a lot of funds, some kind of free advertising or free way to let the city know, to let all the business owners in downtown know that we're doing this. Kind of an equal opportunity for everybody to get involved. Has there been any more thought put into that, how we might get out the word as we're trying to create a strong board?
No, we haven't done anything else about that yet. We are in the process of getting into that again.
Okay.
But my plate has been filled.
Yeah. Do you think it could be valuable to let all the business owners in the city know that we're initiating this project prior to choosing the board?
Oh, I definitely do. It's a community involvement kind of project. So Main Street is all about community engagement.
Great.
And
I'll stay,
business owners are community.
super. I'll stay tuned for the strategy on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Council, any other comments or questions to the department heads? We still have Jan. No, Jan's not. Anyone else? Nancy?
Chief said no, but I would like to point out that we somehow or another just skipped right over public comments on non-agenda items. If we can back up to that before we get into the public hearing.
I know we asked for that.
Yeah, we asked for that. I have 2 people signed up.
Well, I said this is your time to talk to non-agenda items. Is there anyone in here? No.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah, I think we did.
I tried.
I think there was comment prior to my,
Huh?
there was comment prior to my
Okay.
oath.
Gotcha.
That was-
Okay. We got a little bit out of order. Okay. Is there anybody that would like to comment to non-agenda items?
Wally Dunn.
Wally?
I thought you said the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I did. I said, it's your chance to talk about the
Yeah.
good,
Well,
bad,
you
and the ugly.
explained the process at
Yes.
the beginning of the meeting, but you just kind of skipped over that.
My name is Wally Dunn. I live at 11386 Southwest Hendricks Drive. As most of you know, I am campaigning to take a seat on this council. And in doing that, I have ended up doing something I never thought I'd do. And that's walk house to house and might meet everybody in this town. And I would recommend that to everybody on this council. About every 2 or 3 years you do that. Because the words that come out of our residents do not reflect what goes on in this council. There was a number of things brought to my attention that I did not know. And please don't shoot the messenger, but I'm going to tell you what I was told. And a lot of these things were told more than one time. One, our police department is not liked by many people in this town. Okay? And the reason is they don't stop speeding, and there's a lot of speeding. We have a drug problem on East Pennsylvania Avenue that doesn't seem to be addressed. And every time somebody sees a policeman, they're usually sitting side by side in a parking lot somewhere doing nothing. Now, that's the comments of our residents. So I think we need to address what our residents think about these police. These are not my personal comments. This is what I was told. The next thing I learned, and I can reflect on this since I just built a house, the people we have as our building inspectors are horrible. I ran into 2 or 3 people that have used the same individual that I used, ran into the same problems, and somebody needs to either address that with the individual or we need to find a new inspector, okay? The final thing was the way this council spends money. A lot of people were quite shocked, and a lot of these people were the people who live in the historic district of this town, that we were going to replace some lights in the historic district. They didn't know that. They thought it was a waste of money. They also found out about the way signs that were fixing to be put up in the historic district, and they were very upset about that. They also found out about the shade shelters at City Beach, and they all thought that was a waste of money. The people in this town really want the roads addressed. That was the big thing. We got potholes and we got unpaved roads. And that is the #1 concern of the residents of this town. And again, these are not my particular thoughts. These were the thoughts of the residents of this town. And like I say, I think it would be wise for everybody on this council to occasionally walk around and ask the citizens what they think. Thank you.
Okay. Who else, man?
David Porter?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Dave Porter, 11835 East Blue Cove Drive. I have 2 issues that are related. On the city website, down at the bottom, we have a window that selects in the news. And it contains a lot of news-breaking articles associated with the city and projects we're working on, that kind of stuff. So the latest one is donations for Hurricane Ian victims. But about 4 articles in is a fantastic article on what the city has done over the years to protect the Rainbow River. If you haven't read it, it's awesome. It's eye-watering. But it's also a few years old and needs to be updated because there's an awful lot that's been done to protect the river. And some of the most recent is the work that Bill Berger did, working with the council on Rainbow River Park. So I would suggest that the staff take a look at updating that history and continue putting all the stuff that the city does to protect our river. It really is eye-watering. The second part of that is on Wednesday's workshop at the end, there was a mention about the city backing an effort of a potential solution to clean up the Rainbow River. I was surprised that it was deferred until later on when we get permits. The Rainbow River is in dire need of help. I think that is unquestionable. If I recall correctly, a couple of years ago, we had 2 individuals that drowned in the river. And I remember distinctly the wife of one individual that came here to the city council meeting and talked about her husband. And if I recall right, he drowned because he couldn't swim and he got stuck in the muck and couldn't get out. So the muck in the river is not only killing the bottom of the river and any of the eelgrass, but it also killed an individual. So the council, I'm proud to say, anteed up to put money towards the bathroom, but is hesitant to put any money towards a potential solution to the repair of the river. And that solution is being presented by One Rake at a Time. It may work, it may not work, but they just want to, they have a lot of money now for surveys to do a test area. And the optics of the county, the city, not getting behind a project that potentially could fix the river is odd. So just wanted you to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Anyone else signed up?
No one was signed up.
Anyone else want to speak to the non-agenda? Mr. Jones?
Yeah, Art Jones, 12163 Palmetto Way here in Dunellen. Yeah, we definitely need to restore the river, and we just got some new brochures printed up, Save the Rainbow River, and I wanted to hand those out to the council. What Dave said is absolutely right. From my experience with what happened in Crystal River was, I worked with Rotary, we stepped up and we showed some leadership. After we showed some leadership, other people started to show leadership and started to help out. The city of Crystal River stepped up and showed leadership. Then the county of Citrus County stepped up. Then it was Swiftmud stepping up. And we all worked together to get Kings Bay cleaned up, get the restoration project started. And it was absolutely amazing what happened. I was in the middle of it, not even realizing what was happening sometime, but I knew we needed to save that beautiful Kings Bay down there in Crystal River. When I bought my house up here in Crystal River, or on the Rainbow River, I thought, that Rainbow River was really in great shape. I really did. I thought, good, I can take a little break here. We got things going on in Crystal River and relax a little bit, and bought a beautiful house on the river. And I could see a little bit of white sand there, and I jumped in, and oh my God, I went into like 2 feet of muck because it was a false bottom, and there was all that muck in there. And I thought, oh no. And my neighbors coming over, and they're like, yeah, we're really glad you moved up here because we need somebody like you to get in there and start raking it out. And I did, and we've been doing it all this month. We've removed out a lot more hydrilla and lingvia, and we started the volunteer meetings, and it's amazing how many people are coming out. So I'm very happy about that. I'm so happy we're getting the grant going to do the survey. And I just want to make it very clear, what we're doing with that survey is we're taking a really close look at the river, the way it is right now today, and then we're going to look at creating a pilot project, sort of a test. It's just going to be like a 3-acre parcel, probably about 1.5 million, 2 million, just to test it and do the pilot project, very similar to what we did in Crystal River, and make sure that the methods that we're going to use are correct and efficient. and it passes all the DEP standards, SwiftMud's happy, the Army Corps of Engineers happy. So it's going to be, we're going to start with a pilot project, and then it will dovetail into the main project if it is successful. So that's where we're at right now. And so we'd love to have the city support it, and you wrote that letter, and that's absolutely wonderful. And we went to the Tourist Development Council, and they're absolutely thrilled. They just wrote us a letter of support, and then we're going to go to the county and move on from there. So I have these brochures that I'd love to hand out to the city council to show you where we're at. I've got some extra ones for anybody in the audience.
Or need to give one to Julie.
Of course. I thought we was going to go around. Okay. You want to get 20 hours?
So Art, when you're done, come back up to, Art, come back to the podium. We have a couple of questions.
Sure. Sure, sorry.
So just for clarification, when you first approached us 2, 3, 4 months ago, the concept, you were asking for the city to either make a statement or make a financial commitment for this project. Statement of support. We gave you the statement of support. That is correct?
Yeah.
Okay. As it was explained publicly, the city was looking for some sort of support that would give the city justification if we decided to come up with some money, either statements from state, environmental groups, whatever. You have fulfilled a portion of that by using your information and getting a $150,000 grant. You don't get a $150,000 grant unless you have shown that your project is worthy. We know that.
Right.
So if something has changed since your first approach 3 or 4 months ago, you have a $150,000 grant. So your $150,000 grant is to fund the survey to begin the project.
Correct.
All right, so you already have a statement of support from the city. So what in addition to that are you asking the city? You have your $150,000 for your survey. What in addition to that right now are you asking the city to do?
It's really up to you. If you want to make a financial contribution, even if it's a small one, just to become a sponsor, it would be a very positive thing as we go forward with the next grants and approaching the county and SwiftMud and things like that. They like to see it coming from the ground up. And it's what I was talking about, showing leadership. You know, the Rainbow River is amazing. I mean, I'm sure you all love it as much as I do. And it's just showing that leadership that we want to save it and restore it where it needs to be restored. Clean out that muck and replant the
If we
overalls.
came up with X amount of dollars, whatever that amount would be, where would those dollars be applicable to? Where would they go? You don't need it for the survey. You already have their money for the survey. So where would the money go?
The money would go, like these brochures, towards education to the community. We're going to be doing videos. We paid a video person already. We're going to do some editing. We want to put a documentary together. So it's really helping us with that outreach program. And if we have some extra funds in there, we're going to be needing them because any of these grants that we're applying for in the future, the $1 million grants, they're always looking for a little bit of
Skin in the game.
yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
there's just a couple more questions.
Sure.
So you have your funding for the study. You would like to have some seed money to spread the word. And then the overwhelmingly lion's share of the amount of money needed for the actual project, including the test area, would come from grants, state funding, or some governmental source,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
right now, your need more than anything seems to be, you have a letter from the city of support. You're looking for some sort of financial contribution for the education of your project. And then thirdly, by having the letter of support, any financial, some sort of financial commitment, you can use Dunellen as a reference. You can go and say Dunellen, the city of Dunellen has stepped up to the plate. So it gives you standing when you go somewhere else. You can say, like the Northern Turnpike Extension, when we came out flat against that,
Right.
everybody in the world piggybacked on that and said, look what Dunellen did, look what Dunellen. So it seems to me that's what you're hoping, that you can also include Dunellen as, Dunellen's behind this, and this is what they've done. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you get a grant, they want a little bit of matching funds there. They want to make sure the community's got some in. There's a lot of environmental groups that approach the state, and they've got a lot of grievances. They threaten to sue them. There's a lot of negativity there, and they demand that they fix problems without actually offering real solutions or having any skin in the game. So I'm very careful to try to be independent, to make sure I'm asking the state for help. We're putting skin in the game, and we're right there on the same team with them.
Let's be bold, Art. As far as the financial contribution, what are you looking for? Don't tell me anything I can get, I'll be happy with. Tell us what you're hoping the city can do.
The other month, you talked about $5,000. That'd be fine.
Okay.
It's a small amount for this city.
I would
Yeah.
love for you to come back at our next workshop so that we can actually vet this properly for you.
Yeah.
So I would think that's where we need to have a deeper discussion, because I know we all probably want to ask you a question, but I don't think today's the time. So can you come back next
Sure.
November?
Sure.
Whatever day that is? Isn't it November what day?
It'll be in November.
November
put this-
2nd?
We'll put this on the workshop, as Vice Mayor suggested.
Yeah.
And then off of the workshop, chances are it will be on the agenda for the following meeting for some sort of
Sure.
vote either.
Sure. It's like I say, it's very symbolic for the city, and it's really going to help. We just had this T-shirt design. If everybody saw that, we ought to do this. We ought to do this. And we've got some other artists that have done some designs, and we're getting them up on the website. We're using InkSpot, one of our local commercial businesses, to do that and everything. So it's really nice to see the whole community come together.
Okay, all right, so
Get a good program for the 2nd.
you're chipping away at it. This is how government works.
Okay.
You know it, you've been through it.
Yeah, gotta have a lot of patience.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else? This done?
Kathy Dunn, 113 at 6 Hendricks Drive. I appreciate the friendly reminder about the campaign signs, but I remain a little puzzled because I bet there's probably 25 signs of businesses advertising in our city that remain up day after day after day. And so I'm just puzzled as to why the campaign signs are the problem when all the signs need to be taken down. The other thing is, as far as the code review, I would love for the planning council and the beautification group to be involved in that, because we have some ideas about how to make Dunellen more beautiful in a larger sense than just planting plants and digging weeds. And we would really like to have some input on that and be involved in that code review. As far as commercial signage, I think our town's commercial signage needs a lot of work as far as ordinances to make the signs more appropriate for our town. The other thing is the thing about the code enforcement that we've been doing. To me, we would like to have some updates for the council and the citizens about the Buckhorn Bar and the Masonic Lodge and some of the severe blight that we have in the historic district residential area. Because I see that people are buying these houses and fixing them up, and I'm thrilled. But some of the more blatant blight is very, very obvious. So I appreciate all that our community planners doing, but we remain a little puzzled, or I remain a little puzzled about some of the things that are happening. Thank you.
All right, would anyone else like to speak? All right, so this, when we are done with the public comment, correct?
Yes.
If I could just go back and ask one or two questions on the staff report. Mandy, we seem to be struggling to find a code enforcer officer. It seems like this opening has been open for 2 or 3 months. Is that correct?
We just got it advertised properly, probably about a month and a half ago. Got it out on the website, got it out in several newspapers.
What is your outlook?
I don't have any applicants yet.
Okay. So what do we need to do to rectify that? Do we need to offer more money? Do we need to advertise more aggressively? I mean, basically, if this was a business, we have an important job opening that has to be filled. So a business has to address that. It has to. It just can't continue running its business.
Well, when we advertise in the Ocala Star Banner and the Citrus County Chronicle, they also use the applications like Monster, and so they put them out there through their advertising as part of the cost. So Indeed and things like that. I would recommend maybe trying to be a little more aggressive, maybe advertise in the newspapers again. I could reach out to Sean at the paper and maybe actually just try to get him maybe to do an article, about us trying to recruit.
What is preventing that from happening?
Nothing right now.
Okay.
Really and truly, I mean, in my experience, I mean, the TPO has been over a year and a half looking for somebody, so it's not a unique situation for us. There's also, I mean, we can put it on our Facebook page.
It's out there.
Yeah, so maybe, but that's, really and truly where people are looking, it's not going to be the newspaper, it's the Indeeds, it's the word of mouth, and those types of places.
And I also think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Michelle also reached out to Career Source. And we use them as a means to get the word out. So through Career Source, website, newspapers, Facebook, all I can do at this point is try to maybe run ads again in the newspapers, maybe get Sean to do a short little story.
Well, the issue to this is a very critical position, correct? And a lot of what Georgina is doing is predicated on having a quality person in that position. So what we're doing is just a dog chasing its tail, where because we can't find anybody to do that position, it's compromising what Georgina can do. So 2 things are going on here. Number one, we're not effectively enforcing our codes because we don't have that person. And Georgina, what she's trying to do is being compromised. So this one position is turning that end of the building upside down. This has to be filled, has to be.
I can't drag people in here by the hair of their head.
She would do it. May I make a suggestion just real quick? Just let me make one quick suggestion, Mr. Mayor. Georgina, the company that we're looking at, the mayor's going to sign the documents tomorrow with, do they offer a code enforcement?
Yes.
Can you reach out to them to see how much it was going to cost?
We can ask for their services, but it's $90 an hour.
Oh, Mama. I thought there
Now,
was
we
some.
can go back and look at the salary range. The salary range that we established was based on surrounding areas, Marion County, Citrus County, Bellevue, what they're paying their code enforcement officials, if they have them at all right now. We can also go back and look at that and raise the salary range if that's what we need to do, make it more attractive. But that's going to affect your budget too.
We have also tried to reach the county HR department and have them give us applications that they, that they received for code enforcement. We haven't gotten anything yet.
I mean, they're having a hard time just finding building inspectors. I can guarantee that they come and go as fast as they come in, so those are the same types of people.
I would feel a little bit more comfortable if you were reporting to council. We've had a couple quality applicants, but this is what they have to get, and it's higher than what we can pay. But you're saying we don't have anybody. So, I would like you to say, this is what we're offering, but I'm finding that they need $5 more an hour, they need $7 more an hour. So we would have something to work with, but just the idea, no one's applying at all, and no one's making any overture of what it would take to take a job. You've interviewed other people for these positions that are quality, and you have been told, I have to have more than that, right? And sometimes we can't match it and they leave. But we're not even hearing that. We're just hearing there's no answering the phone. And that's troubling.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Mandy, as far as the Workforce Connection, I know that they do file searches for applicants that may qualify for the position. Are they reporting? I mean, maybe you should reach out to whoever the person is that's handling the job board. They have persons handling professional job orders. They used to when I was there. And they would do file searches for applicants to fill the positions. So it might be a good idea to follow up with them to see how often they're doing the file searches.
Yes, we will definitely do that.
I
Yeah.
have a question. Do you know who issues the certifications for these code inspection officers? Where do they go to get their certification?
It's called FACE, Florida Association of Code Enforcement. And it's called a FACE certification, and you could do a lot of it online, but if I recall, Georgina, it was in-person classes now, and they were.
Right, and they're
really
out of
backed up.
Orlando.
And they were, because of COVID, they got so far behind on people trying to get certified, they're trying to get caught up. That was the last report that I recall.
Right, they had some classes, I think at the beginning of the year, and then they canceled and rescheduled, and they haven't given us a new schedule yet.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility the city could correspond with that agency and somehow put the word out that COD is looking?
You can do that too.
You can do that?
No, we could do that too. No, we haven't done that, but we will do that too.
I did put the word out to the lady that I have contact with at FACE, but
Oh, good.
yes,
didn't know
but
It might be workshop worthy, since it seems to be a lengthy discussion about something that's.
Okay, put that on the workshop just for discussion.
Okay.
Okay,
update, that'd be great.
one last quick question for Georgina. Country Girl Saloon, are they moved in yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
I don't
How
think so.
things going?
Well, I passed by the place today, it looked pretty good. But
Okay.
I don't think they've moved in yet.
says open.
It says open?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see any movement
Yeah,
today.
that was where I was walking last week, or earlier, no, last week. And,
Oh,
yeah, she had literally just opened, this was Thursday, Friday, I mean, she was just,
Okay, very good.
yeah,
I
they
don't
had,
know
they
if
had their
everything's done
certification
and
last
getting
week.
inspected, but she's there.
You look like you're about ready for a haircut, boy.
Ain't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, their certificate of occupancy was given to her about a week and a half ago, so, but I
I got another question.
didn't see
Okay,
her.
Ms. Williams?
Would it be proper for me to reach out to someone that I know at Workforce Connection
Sure, yeah.
for the code
Please.
enforcement position? Okay, because with the state of Florida job bank, anybody can search any county
Yeah.
in the state of Florida. There's
Any help
24
we can
workforce
get is
visas.
greatly appreciated.
Okay. I'll
That's
do
why I keep bringing it up in the council meetings. People in here.
Maybe at the workshop, we could even explore the possibility of sharing with another nearby city.
That they have done that already.
Yeah.
Great.
And with the job bank, they can search any county in the state of Florida, 67 counties. So,
All right,
anywhere.
let's continue to move up. Okay, we've been a little all over the place. We're solving things, so let's get our bearings back.
Number public hearing statement.
Public statements?
Yes, public hearing statement. It was right after number 4.
Okay. All right, Mandy, are we back to you where you read the public hearing statement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All persons wishing to address the city council, we ask to limit their comments to the specific subject being addressed. Public opinions and input are valued by the council. However, it is requested that comments are directed at specific issues rather than personal comments directed toward the council members or staff in order to foster mutual respect between council members and the public. Members of the public in attendance at public forums should listen courteously and attentively to all public discussions before the body and focus on the business at hand. They shall refrain from interrupting other speakers, making personal comments not germane to the business of the body, or otherwise interfering with the orderly conduct of meetings. Members of the public addressing council and boards or commissions on a specific project or proposal are requested to disclose any personal interest or relationship and any business, professional, or financial interest with any individual group, project, or proposal regarding the subject matter under review. Members of the public should always err on the side of caution, side of more public disclosure, not less, in order to provide integrity to the public process.
Very good. All right, at this time, Mandy, is it public comments or we put the gavel down? Sorry.
Gavel down.
Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to start going through some things in order. Okay, agenda item number 5. It is now 6:40 p.m. And I close the regular meeting and open the public hearing to discuss ordinance 2022-10, Comp Plan Amendment 2022-01, non-conforming signs. It was posted on the city's website September 26, 2022, and advertised in the Riverland News on September 30th, 2022. So, Ms. Odom, staff comment?
Yes, Andrew?
Yes, Council, I'd be happy to speak to it. You may recall we've discussed this amendment and the accompanying ordinance a number of times leading up to this meeting, but just as a refresher, this all began just as a general concept. First of all, billboards have not been legal in the city for a very long time. That being said, some billboards still do exist that were established prior to the city outlawing them, and so now they exist as non-conforming structures or non-conforming uses. Council expressed desire to create an ordinance addressing certain aspects of the existing billboards or just signage in general when it comes to some of the more non-specific things, maintenance, unsafe signs, removal of certain abandoned signs. That is all addressed in the ordinance that adjusts the city's code. The comp plan amendment that you're reviewing and discussing right now became or is necessary to enact those regulations that the city council requested, since non-conforming uses and structures are generally addressed within the comprehensive plan. So what this comprehensive plan amendment does that you're considering this evening is it takes the signs out of that general classification and creates a comprehensive plan provisions that apply specifically to non-conforming signage, so that some of the rules that existed previously that applied to everything when it comes back to reconstruction can stay that way when it comes to buildings and other non-conforming structures, but when it comes to signage, if there's ever a disaster or some sort of a weather event, if that sign is damaged beyond that 50% threshold, it cannot be replaced. And also allows for some procedures for the city to enter into amortization agreements to try to expedite and facilitate the removal of these signs sooner rather than later. So that is essentially what is in front of you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you, Andrew.
Andrew, could you also speak to how this works as far as first passage, procedure, DCA and all that?
Yes, ma'am. So tonight, this is called your transmittal hearing. Should you move to adopt tonight on first reading, in that case, then what the city would do is it would send this amendment out to all the agencies it's required to, the school board, several state agencies, but most importantly, it goes up to DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, who then, sitting in place of Department of Community Affairs that was that has been renamed, will review the comprehensive plan amendment, make sure it's in line with state policies and the state comprehensive plan, review it, make sure that it's all set as far as their priorities, and provide any comments to the city. Once the city receives a letter back from DEO that it has been reviewed, I don't anticipate any comments to come back, given the nature of this particular comprehensive plan amendment, then the city would be cleared at that point to then adopt the comprehensive plan amendment. So once again, I anticipate, I don't know how fast DEO is running right now, but typically they run quite a bit faster than DCA did, usually about 6 to 8 weeks. Is that kind of what you've seen or heard from clerks?
Yeah.
So we'd be looking at potentially December, maybe January for final adoption.
So Mandy, what does council need to facilitate what you suggested?
So what we'll have, what this is this is just your first reading and your transmittal hearing. So you're having your transmittal hearing now. When you close the public hearing, you have your first reading, just like any other ordinance. And then you'll have your first reading of the ordinance that amends the code. That's kind of the companion ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just sit on that until we hear back from DCA. I still call it DCA.
So do I.
On the comp plan amendment. And once we hear back from them and we can pass the comp plan amendment, we have the second public hearing and final reading, and then we have the public hearing and final reading on the ordinance that amends the code, which is the next ordinance that we're going to read, agenda item number 7.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude staff comment? All right.
There's mine.
Now we go to public comment. Is there anyone that would like to comment on agenda item number 5, which is the signage ordinance, where we're doing certain things to try to beautify the city, and this is one of them. Okay. No one from the public has commented. It is now 6:45 p.m. and I close the public hearing held to discuss ordinance 2022-10 and reopen the October 10th City Council meeting. We're moving on to agenda item number 6.
Correct.
Correct. Do you describe that, Mandy, or do we go straight to public comment on agenda item number 6?
This is just a first reading, so you can take public comment.
Okay, this is an extension. Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment on agenda item number 6? Please note, the public has had an opportunity and there is no comment. Can we have a motion, the proposed motion?
I move ordinance ORD 2022-10 be read by title only.
We have a second.
Second.
Marianne. Julianne will have the second. She's on record. She's on record. Have any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, Mandy?
Yes.
Story time.
Ordinance number ORD 2022-10, an ordinance of the City of Denellen, Florida, amending the text of policy 4.1 of the future land use element of the city's comprehensive plan regarding reconstruction and repair of non-conforming signage, providing for transmission, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we have a proposed motion.
I move ordinance ORD 2022-10 be approved.
Very good. We have a second.
A second.
Okay, Ms. Williams, any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we're going to number 7, the first reading of ordinance 2022-07, non-conforming Signs, this is you, Mandy, correct?
Wrong one. We have to need a motion.
No, we have to do public comment.
Public comment.
Public comment first.
Well, Mandy, just going to describe what this is, right?
This is the companion ordinance to the comp plan amendment. This amends the code itself. 2022-10 amends the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Public comment on agenda item number 7. Here's your chance. Okay. There are no public comments. Do we have a motion?
I move ordinance 2022-70, read by title only.
We have a second.
Second.
Ms. Covich, any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Ordinance number 2022-07, an ordinance of the City of Dunellen, Florida relating to signs, amending and clarifying definitions as specified herein, providing for amortization of existing billboards, providing regulations specific to this article for nonconforming signs, providing maintenance requirements for signage, providing remedies for general violations of signage regulations, providing for removal of unsafe signs, providing for removal of abandoned signs, providing for removal of signs erected without a permit, providing for severability in general, providing for severability where less speech results, providing for severability of provisions pertaining to prohibited signs, providing for severability of prohibition on billboards, providing for conflicts, codifications, severability, and an effective date.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Julianne seconded. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we go to number 8, the first reading of ordinance 2022-11, litter control. Andrew, I believe this is yours.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to speak to it. You may recall, this is something that I've addressed with council several times, and this came at the inception of Chief McQuaig bringing to your attention that Marion County adopted a littering ordinance and requested that the city adopt a similar ordinance. This is a similar ordinance. The definitions have been adjusted where they need to be, so it still fits with the Kitty's Code. It captures exactly what the county is doing, and all the litter penalties have been adjusted to conform directly to what the county is doing, and the verbiage, for the most part, is substantially the same. Just a few differences in some of the definitions, but nothing extremely substantive. So this would place the city on par with the county. I do not know, this request was made of all cities within the county. I do not know what the status is of that, if some cities elected not to pursue it. But this would meet the county's requests and provide some uniformity.
So Andrew, it's just my understanding that this proposed ordinance, which mirrors the county, strengthens the litter penalties and the enforcement. It kind of seems like it's putting some teeth into littering.
There were teeth before. This gives it really good teeth. So it is quite a bit stronger and quite a bit more detailed, and captures, I think, littering wonderfully.
And Chief, by the way, is on the committee that, with the county. Commissioner Curry is the chair of this, and it's very important to him, and he's put a lot of time into it, and Chief is our liaison, so he's had a lot of influence on this. Okay, do we have any public comment on number 8?
No trash talk in there.
Okay, no public comment. Can we have a motion?
I move resolution ordinance 2022-11 be read by title only.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I wanted to ask something about this if I could. I routinely pick up trash in Dunellen, and I'm just wondering, I understand this ordinance and it's kind of written and the county asked us to do it. I'm wondering if there's any initiatives being put forth with public education on how we're really bringing this home to our people? Is there any initiatives that are bringing this back to the residents who are doing the littering?
That's an excellent question, and Chief, if Chief was in here, considering he's on the committee.
I could answer that a little bit because I can't remember her name, the liaison to the public schools. I had a meeting with her, and one of the things that the county's doing is it's in-school littering awareness program, starting with the elementary kids. Because those are the kids that will be driving in 15 years later, and it's the people driving down the road that, besides other major illegal dumping.
Very good. Mandy, could you take it upon yourself to reach out to the county and ask that question if they have any education that's going to go along with the ordinance? To pass the ordinance without anybody knowing about it doesn't seem, I think that's a very good question.
I know that they have been promoting it through the county, throughout the county.
I think what,
And you had said you were going to do it through our Facebook when you and I talked the other day, that it was something that once we got the ordinance going, that you had said you would.
Yeah, I think we have something on our website to the county's link,
I think
on their
what
initiative.
Councilwoman Mendoka is asking is, does the county have a formal way of kicking this in rather than just passing it? I think that's a good question. You know, how are we going to let everybody know that the fines are going up to $250 a pop now? Throw a cigarette package out of your car and it's seen it's $250.
I'd also be interested in knowing a little bit about how this is enforced in Denellen and how frequently it's enforced, but I can certainly, I don't know if I have to do formal record requests, but I can certainly request some historical data from the police to see kind of where we've been at with it and where it's going after this new ordinance.
Lieutenant Yachts, you might be helpful with this. If this ordinance is passed
for littering?
and littering, can you make a comment what the Denellen Police Force would be doing to enforce that?
Oh, sure. You want me to know with it?
Sure.
So I can't speak on the committee stuff, the chief's on it. But as far as enforcing, I mean, we could just enforce it like any other citation. If an officer observes it, and they can, you know, give a city ordinance citation for it.
Is it frequently enforced at this time?
I'd have to look at our records and see if there's any citations that have been given.
Would it be a ticket that's similar to like a parking ticket? It's
Similar to
not
that,
like
yeah,
it
it's
would
got
give
an
you
ordinance.
points or anything like that. It would just be a flat fee, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have we studied the ordinance, Mr. Hand? Are there escalating fines for repeat offenders in there?
There are. There were previously, and there are now. They are just bolstered. The first offense is a civil penalty of $150. A second offense, for anyone who has one prior conviction for dumping litter, and dumping is broadly defined, that individual could be incarcerated in the county jail for up to 10 days, receive community service, as well as a fine of $300. And finally, any individual who has at least 2 prior convictions could spend up to possible of 30 days in county jail, receive community service, as well as a fine of $500. And in fact, if that's not deterrent enough and somebody continues to do so, then they could be incarcerated. They could receive community service and the fine. The fine is limited by the city's charter. However, incarceration could be up for a period of 60 days.
Troy, it sounds like you'll have plenty of help with the
I
sandwich.
was just thinking that. You didn't want to say it out loud.
Lieutenant Yachts, thank you.
Yes, sir.
It would be interesting to see the percentage of people who have been cited for littering. How are you going to catch them?
Police have to actually see it and want to do it.
That's right.
Okay, council, we have a motion,
Fine.
a second, and discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Now we have a proposed motion.
Ordinance, I have to read this.
Okay.
Ordinance number ORD 2022-11, an ordinance of the City of Denellen, amending Chapter 50, Article 9, littering, providing for conflict, no, that's Article 4, sorry. littering, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
Very good. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any further discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. So Mandy, this is the first reading. We have to come back at the next city council meeting and finalize it,
We
correct?
have a public hearing and a final reading.
Okay, excellent. We go to agenda item number 9, resolution 2022-09, the amended permit fees, and I think this is Georgina, correct?
This is for the 911 address fees. It's not in our fee schedule at the moment, so we have to add it. It's a county fee that it's just, they charge us for it and we just have to collect the fees for them. That's pretty much how it goes.
Okay.
It's a pass-through.
That's-
So when someone comes in and they're developing a property and they have to have an address assigned to that lot, the county is now going to charge for doing that. So we have to charge the individual and then just pass it on to the county. So there's no additional expense to the city.
Did we get a fee for that, for a handling fee?
No.
Are there a handling fee?
You'd have to ask the county.
Oh, we can't do it? Andrew?
So,
I mean, if you're gonna, if we, I suppose we have an administrative fee already established in the fee schedule for permit processes.
Oh, okay, so we did.
So there is already administrative fee in the fee schedule, but not specific to this.
I was thinking, time and energy, $3.
So someone builds
What
a
is that?
house and they're going to have this permit fee. What does the permit
Additional
fee
usually?
do? What does the permit fee do? What's it for?
Usually when this permit fee comes in, it's because there's a residence being built, a new residence being built.
It's a vacant lot that
And
doesn't
it's a
have an
vacant lot,
address.
and once the permit goes through for the actual build out, then they request this address. And that's when the county charges us for that fee. So it's part of a fee process.
It's a processing fee,
And
correct?
the
It's just the expense of processing this.
right, and the administrative fee is associated to that, so there's really no additional fee needed.
Okay.
Okay. We understand what it is now. Do we have any public comment on this? No public comment. Okay. Proposed motion.
I move resolution RES 2022-09. Yeah, be read by title only.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. And do we have any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mandy?
Resolution number 3 is 2022-09, resolution of the City of Denellen, Florida, amending the city's fee schedule, establishing 911 management fees for addressing and development review services, replacing references to city administrator with city clerk, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
A second?
Hey, Julianne, we have a second? Do we have any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. So again, we're now at number 10. We have Resolution 2022-18, the Personnel Manual Amendment Education Fund Policy. Mandy, would you like to briefly describe what this is?
Yes, sir. This was something that was brought to council at the request of Councilwoman Covage to consider revising the education fund policy in the personnel manual to provide for mileage reimbursement when someone is required to attend in-class sessions rather than online sessions. And it would be at the IRS established rate. There's the underlined strike-through version. So here is the section of the policy that addresses what is eligible for reimbursement through the education fund policy, and I still did not correct that, but I will do that before it gets signed. So reimbursement will be made for tuition and required course expenses only. This does not include books, items of personal use, application or graduation fees, parking stickers. We struck travel, typing, or other such related costs. Mileage reimbursement for required in-person class attendance shall be paid at the IRS established rate, not to exceed $1,000 per fiscal year. Employees will not be allowed to use a city vehicle for the purpose of attending required in-person classes under this policy. And I added that last sentence because if you have, I don't want people to get confused between the education fund policy provisions and our normal travel policy provisions. So if we're traveling on city business, it is preferred actually that we take a city car most times if there's one available. So I just wanted to make sure that that was stated clear in this policy that this would not be the same as the city's standard travel policy.
Understood. So the key word in this is required. So you would not be eligible for the mileage reimbursement if you were taking classes. For instance, you wanted to get your degree in public administration, but it's not required. But you just want to do it to improve your education. So you would not be eligible for the mileage reimbursement because it's not required that you do that.
No, it's required in-person attendance because a lot of schooling this day and time can be done online. But there are some courses that they require you to appear in person in class.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure what required is attached to.
Required
For instance,
in-person class attendance.
Because when Georgina was hired, part of her contract, there was a requirement that she must go to class. So what I'm talking about, if she was just doing this on her own to get her degree, but it was not required, would she get reimbursement?
Yes. If council approves tuition reimbursement in a budget, let's just say, for example, I come to you in next year's budget and say, I would like to take these classes that are associated with my position, classes in public administration. I need $5,000 in the budget. Council would approve that expense through the budget process, and then that would fall under this policy. Now, I could take classes online, but if I'm taking a class that once every week, it requires me to physically appear in class, then that's when I would get reimbursed for mileage.
Okay, all right, we understand it now. So we're going to come back to it for discussion if we need to. Is there any public comment on agenda item number 10? Tim?
Tim Inskeep, 12140 Maple Street here in Dunellen. I have a question and a comment. Are there any secondary consequences of adding mileage to the tuition reimbursement program, as the new language that we just discussed says required to attend? An example would be if there's an accident, is the city liable for a workman's comp claim for the employee that went, or vehicle repairs, or another person that's in the accident with the city employee? Does the city have any liability for that? Then my comment is, I still have an issue with the risk of paying for these types of things without retention agreements. I could go get, if I was a city employee, I could go get education through the tuition reimbursement program, get my mileage, now we're asking for mileage. And the day after I get my diploma, I would be more marketable and could go get myself possibly another higher paying job. Thank you.
I would say, council, we can address that during the discussion. This is just a comment. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this? Okay. Do we have a motion for agenda item number 10?
I move resolution 2022-8. Is it 18?
18.
Okay, be read by title only.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, now we have a discussion and we can address what Tim brought up or anything else we want to talk about. So the question, I guess it would go to Andrew, is if we are paying mileage for an employee that's going to classes driving, is the city in any way tied into liability if there is an accident or an occurrence with that person that's driving?
No. I'm going to give you a wide answer, and I'm going to narrow it down. I will tell you that, of course, tell council that the way the legal system works, anybody can file a lawsuit for anything. Of course, it's not up to the attorneys to move to dismiss and try to have to move and go through that process. So the city could always be sued. If that were the case, would look to the insurer to see if it falls under their policy, and the insurance policy, in this case, when it goes to this kind of liability, would likely hire an attorney to litigate that particular case for the city. To answer the question about liability and general liability, of course, when you're talking about liability in a vehicular accident or collision, those are highly fact specific. So, you know, I think what may go into or be a component of that particular instance could have impact on how that case is litigated and how the case progresses. Clearly it would, because it is fact specific. What I can tell you as a general rule of law, there are some cases out there, including Garcia versus the City of Hollywood, that look at instances. For instance, there is a case, I won't give you the whole case background, but it was a case where a police officer was driving to work that morning, driving to the police station, in order to prepare for a examination for a promotion, and the court found no liability. And the premise for finding no liability was that that particular individual was not performing their primary function. So in this case, you have an employee who, and why I have to qualify it is because if there's not a case that's almost exactly like what we're talking about here, and we don't know the facts, I can't give you a 100% answer. But as a general rule of law, and as of looking how Dunellen is set up, I do not see, you know, a real red flag when it comes to liability, because per the city's policies, these are set up so that this individual or any individual who is going for this educational betterment, pursuing a degree or classes education, it's not the primary scope of their employment to become educated. They're doing it in furtherance of the position, and it's off city hours. It's really during their own personal time. So based on the case law that is currently out there, what I've seen, the city has excellent defenses if something were to ever occur.
So to extrapolate on that is if any of the council members were going to travel for a class, let's say we're going to go to Jacksonville or Orlando for a sunshine law refreshing course, and we were going to take our own personal car, and our intent was per agreement that we expected reimbursement on mileage, which we could, correct? And so it would be the same case if we got in an accident, we're a councilman doing something related to council and we're getting paid back. So basically we already have that policy in effect through that.
Unless the courts move and we see a divergence from the way that the case law is going, you know, I don't see a real red flag for liability in either one of the two scenarios that have been presented, whether it be a councilperson or.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, I was sitting on my foot and I thought.
I notice every time I turn my back, I'm hearing Snickers, so I'm just wanting to make
Oh,
sure.
no, I sat on my foot and it was dead. No, that, yes, it was, my foot was dead. I'm sorry.
I'm up for discussion on this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We're in discussion on number 10.
So I had a number of questions related to this, so I'll try to be brief. but I thought that while we were looking at this, looking at the whole education fund policy makes sense, because I think all of the points, all of the 14 points work together. So number 3, which is what we were focused on, talks about, in parentheses, the things that aren't included, we have struck out travel. Is there any reason why we chose to only target travel and none of the other expenses involved?
I'd just like to say that, remember, this is going to be a continuing policy through the years.
Yes, absolutely.
And the reason I first brought it up as something that council might do is that when we are hiring, this is such a highly competitive process to fill administrative positions, and we're looking for persons who are performing absolutely essential duties. And if we can entice people, hang out the carrot, okay, you're not fully qualified, but your references were good, and you have city administrative experience, but you need to get those certifications so you can add more duties to you, to your add more responsibility. This is something that we can go on and offer to other prospective employees in the future.
I fully understand where it came from. My question is why we chose travel out of the 6 examples. Is there any reason why we singled out travel?
Well, because it is expensive to drive, vehicle upkeep, and so on, repairs, and the price of gas and so on. It's just, consider it like a bonus for a person's effort to put in the effort to continue their education and get certifications to perform duties for our city.
Okay, thank you. Can I move on with my...
Well, maybe I can say something
Okay.
to help. Mandy, it is correct that if you were going to spend the night somewhere for what I described, going to a sunshine refresher course, the city reimburses for the hotel, correct?
Yes.
The city reimburses the meals up to a certain point.
Yes.
So that this is, but we haven't addressed the mileage reimbursement on an educational, it's not been addressed, so we're addressing it for the first time.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully that
Under this
answers-
I appreciate the clarification. I don't want to mix apples with oranges
Yeah.
as far as city business and city staff versus the education policy. To me, 2 separate things. Number 6 says, if an employee terminates with the city at any time during the course or that the program is being taken, they will not be reimbursed for the cost of the program. I'm wondering in number 6 if we need to add language that the mileage reimbursement would also need to be reimbursed in the event that the person terminates with the city during the course of their education.
We can bring it back to you if you want to make further revisions to the policy.
I have some other questions about it, if I can
Yeah,
put
so
them
the
out.
question seems to be if they're going to have to reimburse the city for the tuition, would they also be required to reimburse the city for mileage
That
pay?
is my question.
Hmm?
That is my question. Thank you.
So in the event that they leave.
Correct. Prior to the completion of the education.
I mean, I think
Anything.
the way it reads, it covers it. If you want it to be more specific, we can make it more specific.
Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, sometimes you have people that leave for health reasons, just different reasons, and we're gonna make them reimburse?
There's nothing wrong with adding additional clarity. If it's council wish to add that on there, I think that there's no dispute about it. There's no issue with adding that.
Anything.
So what would it take, Mandy, to do that? We'd have to start over on this?
Unless you give me can they give me some specific direction as to what section they want it to amend and what it should say, or do we need to revise the title?
It's a resolution, so, and there's no advertisement required for it. So the title can be adjusted this evening, it would just need to be reread. And the content could be added, as long as it's clear and part of the minutes, so it could be revised tonight or
Because
brought back at the next workshop.
The title covers Article 3, Section 2 in its entirety. So the title doesn't get down to defining item number 3. That's only in the addendum.
That's covered in that particular, I've only seen this, this portion of the personnel manual, but if there's an item number 6 that is part of that overall, that's under that umbrella, then absolutely correct. That would, the title would not need to change.
Okay.
What?
And
It would, for it to pass tonight, it would just need to be clear, with clear enough direction to be incorporated into an amendment that can be signed, exactly the verbiage that's changing for this other section that's been mentioned.
So what do we need to do that?
Just decide on how, it's section 6, is that correct? Section
Correct.
Or item number 6, pardon me. I think it would be sufficient for council to state on the record how item 6 needs to read.
I feel it could be beneficial if it said, if an employee terminates with the city at any time during the time a course or program is being taken, he or she will not be reimbursed for the cost, program, or mileage, or
Just adding
travel
more mileage.
reimbursement. Yeah, just adding that into, I think would be simple and sufficient.
So if council wishes to go in that direction, you can, a motion could be made to adopt this resolution per the amendments discussed, and in which case, prior to your signing, Mayor, just a final version would be created that shows the strike through and underline of that addition.
Okay.
And you're talking about number 6, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you can see the way it reads there now on the screen. So we would just amend that to include tuition.
Or mileage. Yeah.
I'm sorry, mileage. Program or mileage. Just add or mileage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second that we're going to actually change. So we have to make a motion to amend, correct?
That's correct.
All right, is there anybody, if everybody agrees with that, is there a motion to amend this?
Do we amend that before additional comments? Because I have a comment about number 8 and number 14.
Okay.
Number 8 outlines that an employee taking the course for reimbursement must continue. Okay, so performance, which I know is not an issue because Georgina is an excellent student, or anyone I'm sure the city sent to these classes would work hard. Coursework will not be completed on city time. All classes must begin on or after the employee's scheduled work assignment. I just wanted to confirm that this, that currently our employee who is under this program is not committed to classes that begin before, that are on city time. So are all of the classes and travel and all of those things happening after work time, or is it being done on city time? Number 8.
If I may.
Well, wait a second. That verbiage speaks for itself. Whether or not the individual is doing that or not is something outside the verbiage.
So an example could be, if I needed to go to class and I needed to be there at 5 o'clock, and I need to leave at 3:30 to get there on time, and I'm scheduled to work for the city until 7.
Mhm.
That would be, I believe that would be doing educational.
Well, that would be outside of the resolution as it currently stands. Doesn't the resolution as it currently stands that you cannot do that? You're supposed to do it on your own time?
Yes, I guess maybe to be clearer, my question, and maybe Georgina can just answer my question, are your classes and commitments within city work hours, or are they outside of the city work hours, Tuesday through Friday from?
Just for your information, I don't decide on the schedule that they put the classes in.
Okay.
The university does that, and they have a specific schedule on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And most of the time, and I've tried to get online classes or Saturday classes, but that doesn't work. They only have Tuesdays and Thursdays. The classes start at 6. And it has been some kind of a challenge because I did not want to miss certain meetings, and I had to because I had a commitment with school, and I had to miss a meeting one time, and I have to leave at 3:30 to get there at 6 because it's that long of a drive. And that is why Ms. Kovich kindly suggested to put this on the agenda to get me reimbursed for this time because it is about 2 hours and 20-minute drive to get there.
So I think it's worth taking a look at number 8 then, if you're telling us that it does not accommodate your needs. I just think it would be important for us to transparently look at 8 and say, hey, classes are happening during city time. So before we, and this isn't just about one case, this is about all the employees after this who use the education policy. So if we're going to have employees using the education policy, they're taking classes within city hours and they're getting paid to work for the city and they're getting the benefit of the reimbursement of the education, and now we're paying mileage. I think that when these times are overlapping, that it needs to be a discussion, and not just with the hat of a taxpayer.
Excuse me, what you are not taking into account is that we have comp time, and normally the administrative staff works extra hours most of the time. So when I go to these classes, I take my comp time and I make it up.
And that's a really good point.
Just as an information.
Yeah, I
don't know if you
appreciate
know
you
that.
sharing that, because I don't know the inner workings of the staff, and I think comp time is really that would be a great use of comp time. Is comp time tracked and managed so that
It
we
is
can
tracked.
see that?
And exempt employees earn comp time as straight time, unlike hourly employees who earn it at time and a half. So Georgina is not getting paid by the city, even if she leaves here at
Exactly.
3:30 for her regular hours. She's using whatever comp time she has accumulated in that pay period.
Nobody's paying me for that. Exactly.
To make up the time. So it's not, we're not paying her, so to speak, to go to class. If she leaves at 3:30 and she doesn't have comp time to cover that, then she has to use an accrual. She has to use her vacation time. So we're not including that as part of her salary, that time that she's away.
That's super helpful, thank you.
And just so you all know, me getting a planning degree was not a requisite for my position. So I'm doing this to benefit the city, but if you all decide that this is not the way you want to go, I will be more than happy to drop it.
And I wouldn't, I'm sorry that you
It is a challenge on my part.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm doing it for the benefit of the city. But if that becomes a problem,
That's a good thing.
then for all means, let me know and I'll drop it.
And I think
Because
that
I'm-
in bringing this policy, I just want to publicly discuss it openly. It helps me better understand what's going behind the scenes and how time is used. And as a council person, I find that helpful. My final questions on.
Well, Julianne, let me just say this. It
Okay.
sounds like the wordage that we have covers your concern, and it seems like what you're asking is for staff to make sure that what time needs to be deducted is deducted, what time needs to be added is added. So this is more of an administrative question. You're basically asking staff, are you really implementing this and making sure if Georgina leaves here 3 hours early, that she has 3 hours of comp time, correct?
Absolutely.
So you're not actually questioning the wordage of the resolution, you're questioning how tightly we're enforcing what's currently in place.
Yeah, and I think that it will really become easy to see when when I have visibility of how we manage comp time versus flex time. I mean, when I see a calendar of that, or, I think that will make it even clearer. So yes, thank you.
And a lot of times, these kind of questions would be something that are asked by you to the staff members.
Sure.
If you're not satisfied with the answers, then you come to the entire council
Super.
to, answer these sort of things.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes,
Right.
thank you for that clarification on this learning journey. Number 14, I just wanted to speak because I know Mr. Inskeep has mentioned several times about a retention clause, and number 14 does talk about if an employee is reimbursed for tuition and resigns from the city within 1 year, the employee shall reimburse the city in total. So we do really get that year afterwards of assured commitment, which I think is super helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Very good, all right. Okay, so we backtrack now. We had a motion and a second, and now we've had a motion and a second to make a amendment to the...
Item number 6,
Right.
we have the motion.
I don't think there was a motion made.
No, we don't have a motion. To amend item number 6, we'll need a motion and a second and a vote to amend item number 6, and then we'll need a motion, a second and a vote to read it by title only.
So I make a motion to amend number 6 to include the word "or travel."
Okay, I'm sorry, we had a motion to read by title only. You have discussion.
Oh.
So you can we go ahead and make the motion to read it by title and vote on that since we already have the motion, and then make the motion to amend number 6? Or does it need to be vice versa?
It's already been, the title's already been read. So at this
I didn't
point,
read the title.
No, we haven't read title yet.
Okay.
then the best thing to do is to go ahead and read the title.
Okay.
And after the title is read, to adjust the resolution however it needs to be adjusted.
Okay, so
For that title.
I need a vote to read it by title.
Aye.
I have a motion, a second,
I already have it.
okay? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Opposed? Is it, you made a vote? All in favor?
Yes, we're voting on the passing of this personnel manual amendment, correct?
You're voting on reading it by title only.
Okay, yes.
So you're voting yes or no?
Yes for reading by title only.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, passed unanimous.
Resolution number RAS 2022-18, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Denellen adopting amendments and changes to Article 3, Section 2, Education Fund Policy of the city's personnel manual, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
I move resolution 2022-18 be approved.
Do you have a second?
Or do you want to make the
I
amendment
need,
to it?
oh,
okay.
You could approve it as amended
With the word,
to item
okay,
number
so
6.
I move resolution RES 2022-18 be amended to include in paragraph 6, "or travel," be approved. That wasn't worded right.
Amended to include a revision to
Travels.
number 6.
Comma, "or travel."
To include mileage.
Okay, that was the other word.
Mileage.
That's the exact word I used.
Okay. Got it. Need a
Okay.
second.
So we have a motion to amend according to what Ms. Mendoka wanted. Do we have a second? Second? We have a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
I
Okay?
need to clarify, are we voting on the correction of number 6 or on the total?
The total.
The total. My vote on the total will be no.
No on the total. Okay. Very good. I'm not sure what part of the total did you disagree on?
Overall, I think, and maybe I left this out of my comment, but I think adding benefit to staff, at this point, I'm looking at the budget and talking to taxpayers, it's not something that I agree with. I did email and provided some suggestions of other ways to access funds for things such as transportation through education, so I feel like I did offer some solution along the way, and therefore I vote no.
Okay, very good. I thought we had actually satisfied
Well,
what you were asking for with the travel.
And I think there's a number of these things that the council has talked about before, and now that I'm here, knowing that there's largely a majority, I think it's just important for me to do what I can to tweak it in a way that I can feel most comfortable with.
Because I was about ready to congratulate you on your first victory.
That's okay. My first victory happened at the oath.
And then you vote no. I said, okay. All right. We go to agenda item number 11, Public Works Bucket Truck Repairs. This is, now we don't need a description, Troy, of the entire hydraulic system and how it works. You know,
Just give us that.
The nooks and crannies of it. Council, as we had talked about the workshop, I am asking for authorization to spend $15,362.88 on repairs for our bucket truck, as the majority of the important components, the integrity components, the bucket, the hydraulics, and the cylinders are aged out 20 years plus, and the bucket has sustained some irreversible damage or aging and needs to be replaced. I've been through this estimate thoroughly. I have vetted other options with piecemealing out with individual companies. I've also met with the community sales rep and the mechanic doing the work on the truck there at Ring Power, and went through the truck for over an hour the other day, Thursday, in fact, day after council. Okay?
Okay.
If you have any questions about it, I'll do the best I can to answer.
Okay, first we'll have a motion and a second. Do we have a motion?
Public comment?
Public comment, you're correct.
Sometimes.
Public comment on repairing the bucket truck.
Only that side of the room gets to make comments, by the way.
Okay, no public comment.
And no switching seats.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move that we accept the Public Works bucket truck fee for the quote from Ring Power in the amount of $15,362.88.
Okay, do we have a second?
Nice.
Second, okay. Just one question. The reason this is coming in front of council is because this fee exceeded $15,000.
The reason it's coming in front of council is because it was not a foreseeable item and has not been placed in this year's budget.
Right.
So this may require a budget amendment by the end of 2022-23 budget.
So this is outside what we already had budgeted.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question? Mandy, so, sorry, I didn't even ask, wait for your answer.
Sure.
Sorry about that. So question, when we have our referendum on the ballot this year, would that cover, you wouldn't have had to have done it if the referendum passes, correct?
Still would have to, because anything 5,000 and above, up to 35,000, we have to bring you 2 quotes. And this is more of a sole source.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But if we're going to, if we need approval for, you know, it could be we bring you 2 quotes, it could be sole source, it could be, but if it's over $5,000, it has to come to you.
Okay.
Even if it's an emergency repair, you may recall, we had a police vehicle that had to have some emergency repairs a while back that ended up exceeding $5,000 by the code and the charter. We're required to at least report that to you.
Oh, yeah.
If it's an emergency type situation. But in this case, Troy has found that this is the best route to take, is to just have Ring Power do it all. And, you know, he's done his homework and checked around, so we just need to,
Any
council
other-
to authorize the expense.
Any other discussions, comments? We went over this pretty good at the workshop. So we have a motion, we have a second. We just completed our discussion. Time for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Ms. Odom, please take note that
Thank you,
Ms.
council.
Covich was not here for the vote. Okay, we go to number 12, agreement 2022-31, the affordable buildings construction of the 2 shade pavilions at City Beach. So Troy, you can lead us in on this.
Mandy, are you going to lead us in?
Well, I can start. I finally got this ball rolling the end of last week on Thursday, by getting things finalized with affordable buildings out of Brooksville. I reported to you briefly on this at the workshop on Wednesday. We got quotes from affordable buildings in the, I'll just pull them up here. So one is $6,558.77 for a shelter, and one is $6,283.25. That was from Thursday. They have come back and amended their agreement slightly. I got an email from them today, which is going to require some further revision because they took out a clause in the contract that I had provided them that is statutory in nature and it's required regarding public records. And I reached out and asked them why they took that out, and advised them that it had to be put back in, but I don't have that back from them yet. So the agreement that they sent me was a, excuse me, let me find it real quick. It was a flat rate for the project of $14,142 for both. So the contract is for $14,142.02. A deposit of $14,421 would be due upon execution of the agreement. That's 10% deposit. The remaining portion of $11,727, let me strike this over here so y'all can see it, would be due upon completion of the service, and the balance of $2,000, which would be remaining, would be due upon final inspection. So although there's some work that I have to do to get this contract finalized, if council wanted to go this route, this is for a prefab type of building with a metal roof that's not consistent with what we have out there today. On Friday, we had someone come forward, a local contractor, and make an offer of a volunteer services. And he would build the shelters for us at no charge. All it would cost us is the cost of the materials. And he would guide us in that, look at our plans, reach out to his suppliers, find out what that cost would be. We pay the suppliers directly, and he and his subcontractors would volunteer their time to build the shelters. Wonderful.
Okay, and
it would be the same shelter with a shingle roof that's there now.
the big benefit to that is that all of the pavilions would look the same. We wouldn't have a mix and match.
Right.
And talking with the contractor, he felt that the materials with his free labor and construction would not exceed what we'd be paying for the prefab buildings,
Correct.
right?
That is correct. Council Lee also pointed out that he will be taking care of any engineered plans, the changes that need to be made so that, because each shelter out there is size specific for its individual location, but he did say it would look like the one that's already there, plus or minus a few structural changes, and that it would not cost us anything more than just materials, and the estimated cost for materials is expected to be about what we're paying for the prefab.
So to boil this down, Troy, what this pretty much, if we just started from scratch, it'd be like a contractor who's licensed, insured, legitimate, ongoing in the city saying to us, if you guys buy the material, I'll build it for free.
Pretty much what it boiled down to. So it's my recommendation that we explore that avenue. I'll start working with the contractor to get the plans, get the information. Mandy's already sent over information from the first pavilion, so he has some guidance to go with. And, you know, I suggest the council moves forward with the second option for now, or at least allow us to move forward with the second option for now. And as soon as we have a total cost estimate for materials, we'll get it back to council. I don't anticipate construction trying to begin before November. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's about the time frame after we get engineering.
And you come back to council and say, this is what the material cost, which is basically what the cost of it would be, and we would approve that or disapprove that.
Right. In either case, now understand we're getting something better than a prefab, in my opinion, a little stronger. It's stick built. And so even if the cost of materials is slightly higher than the prefab pole barns, that's something for council to consider. If you pay an extra couple of dollars for something you really want, or we're going to stay with something.
But we would know that.
You would know that.
We would know that before.
You'd know that within a few dollars, I should say. I can't be accurate 100% on the dollar, but within that.
So we would look at like Julie Truss, for the trusses on that kind of building?
They're site-built trusses. They're made right there on site. It's not
Okay.
yeah, it's not pre-truss, actually, it's suspended roofing.
So Mandy, we have two options here. What is council? What should council do at this point?
You have to take public comment.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's
You
just,
don't necessarily need a motion, I don't think, it comes to a consensus to allow staff to work with the contractor
Okay.
to determine the cost of the materials. If he comes back and the materials do not exceed $4,900 or $4,999, we don't even have to bring it back to council. I can approve that expense. If it comes over $5,000, we'd have to bring it back to you.
okay, so you put it on the workshop. All right, before we discuss it any further, we should have public comment. Is there any public
You're not
comment?
voting.
Hmm?
You're not voting on this. You're just giving staff your consensus to move forward with working with this contractor to bring back material costs to you.
So you're asking us to remove,
I'm not asking you to do anything except give us a consensus, what you want us to do.
okay,
Just to come back with us with the figures, so there's nothing to vote on tonight.
No.
okay. Means
Wait, so you're,
I'm good with that.
okay, you just need a consensus on that?
you got it.
Andrew, good? Okay, looks like you have a unanimous consensus, if that makes any sense. All right, very good. Let's hope this works out. The idea that we'd have all three of those shelters looking identical. I always said it'd be shame to buy a pair of brown shoes, and when you open up the box to slip them on, one's a lace-up and one's a slip-on.
Makes you unique.
Do you think anybody would notice? Anyway, okay, very good. Now we go to an issue that might be one of the most important issues that we have on the agenda tonight. Number 13, the agreement 2022-28 Kimberly Horn IPO for the Powell Road site development. Who is going to lead us into a short description of what this is?
I can speak to it a little bit. Alan Gary was here at the workshop and spoke to this last week. I prepared a brief agenda summary, which I'll just quickly read to you for that workshop. During the September 7th, 2022 council workshop, bring this over here so you can see it. Kimberly Horn presented a proposal for council's consideration to develop a conceptual site plan for a police facility on the recently acquired Powell Road property. Ultimately, Chief McQuaid requested this be placed on hold until we have a solid rendering of a building that council approves of. Size and placement are key in determining setbacks, buffers, drainage, retention, etc. Subsequently, staff met with Kimberly Horn to discuss what we could do to make us become shovel-ready for grants or legislative appropriations. The recommendation was to have architectural rendering, which would enhance and improve the conceptual site plan, and this would demonstrate the city's commitment to the project, increase our chances of obtaining grants, could potentially fully fund the engineering and construction of a new police facility. Fiscal information, this would come from the reserve that was established by Resolution 2022-08, which has a current balance of $606,788. And here is the agenda, or here's the IPO that was attached to the agenda. If any of you had a chance to review that, it goes over what services would be required. The total cost of this IPO is $32,167.
Okay, thank you, Mandy. Public comment on agenda item number 13. Okay, no agenda, no comment. So we'll have a motion that will create discussion. We have a proposed motion.
Authorize the mayor to sign agreement AGR 2022-28 Kimberly Horn IPO number 103 for Powell Road site development not to exceed $32,167.
We have a second.
I second.
We have a second. Okay, so that puts it in play. So do we have discussion? Anybody would like to make a comment on that? Yes.
So when I listened to the Kimberly Horn gentleman talk at the last workshop about this, I came away with some questions. I'm wondering, he said the first phase is to sit down with the architect and talk about things. And I'm just wondering who would be at the table during those discussions. If this is authorized and we move forward, who is that? Who's in on that? I mean, I imagine obviously the chief of police is in on that discussion and the architect. Is there anyone from council, or is there any other objective voice in the conversation as we talk about the very beginning steps?
Legitimate question.
One of my questions.
So the question is, when we sit down with them, I'm sure the chief's sitting down with them, who else would be sitting down as we're discussing the building?
That would be up to council. I mean, it definitely would be the chief. It includes, let's see.
We can only have one council member, really.
Right. If council wanted to designate a council member to attend those meetings, I suppose you could do that. I don't think there's any conflict, Andrews.
Be fine.
And Mr. Mayor, if that's going to be the case, I would love for Miss Anita or I to be on that, since we have been. Yeah, I mean, I really would love to. I mean, that would be something. I mean, if you can't, because I know you like to do those things as well, but.
Well, I would like to do it mainly because I am the mayor, and this is probably the single most volatile issue that this city has been dealing with for a few years.
And I've been through this volatile
Yeah.
moments, that's why.
And you-
20 years. 20 years, so, I mean, I'm just saying.
You and Miss Anita are up for election. in 60 days.
in 30 days.
So this will be,
It doesn't matter to me. I'm
I
pretty
mean, no,
sure
if
you
you
will
want- I mean-
probably understand more than I would.
But
about
yeah, no, but
So-
it was just me being, because.
I'd like to make a motion that we nominate our mayor to be the representative during that conversation.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Fine.
I'll second that. I was just saying but you understand where I was coming from, because it's so personal.
We'd all
to
like
me.
to be there.
Well, no, well, it's just so personal that.
I would like Bill Toomey.
okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Council, you
You're
would
gonna
need to
take
take public comment on that.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
It's on the agenda.
Sorry, we get a little sloppy as it gets over later. Any comments on that? Yes, Phil?
later.
Yep. Based on the discussion that y'all just had, is it not feasible to have that be maybe a few workshops?
We've workshopped it so bad.
Well, this is not like the previous workshops, though. This would be, we're down to the nuts and bolts of this thing.
I've got a special meeting.
Well,
Right.
but let
Thank
me
you.
just Mr. Mayor, may I? Because Chief, doesn't that kind of have to be where we're discussing things that we can't publicly discuss at this time, sir? And I'm not trying to be mean to you, but there's, not mean, you know what I mean. I'm just a mean bully.
Yes, building a police department is unique. In the beginning stages, where they're going to put it, size of the building and stuff like that, it's perfectly okay. But once we get to the nuts and bolts where things are going inside the building, then we're covered by state statute. We cannot give that information out only to the contractor, only to the architect, and only to the engineers.
So even the chief can't then?
Who?
I'm not the chief. A council person can't be a representative with that?
Statute clearly says who can, like I said, in the beginning, when we set the plans, when we set the location, when we set some of the rooms inside, all that is okay. Welcome it. Glad the mayor's going to be there. But but we haven't voted on yet. Once the plans are complete, the architectural drawing of where this is going to be, where this is going to be, where that's going to be, then that's different.
I just chime in to say that I completely understand that, and I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think that we could go pretty far down the line with how big it's going to be, and I need a room that's this big and that big, and this can be shown separately. You don't need to know the configuration of thing going through, but I feel confident that you could follow that process through.
Chief, I am not an expert on this, nor do I say that I am, but I have read what council has the right to see. And I think your strict definition of what a council member can see within the privacy of that observation, I look at it a little differently. I think a council member has the right to see this stuff from what I've read. Andrew?
It's been a while since I've looked at it. I just want to look at the exception again, but certainly city council falls under the city. But in any case, just for the scope of, I think that's something that that council could discuss later. Any kind of preliminary discussions are not going to be discussing that floor plan and anything that would be covered anyhow. So if there was a need to, look at specifics, or a council member had that request, we can certainly dig in deeper if we need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have to review that because I have done some just some surface reading on this, and there does seem to be situations where council person in a secure situation under certain situations has the right to know these things. So I'm not saying you're right or wrong, but from what I've read, it seems to mean there are opportunities to know that.
Well, I think what you're voting on tonight, Mayor, you have every right to be there and see and do, because all you're doing is voting on the concept of the plan.
All right. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate that.
Can I just follow up with one more little
Yeah,
comment?
sure.
I know that in the earlier part of the 2000s that maybe there was like, it might even have been before the police chief's time, I'm not sure. They don't really have dates, but there was some analysis done on space and needs based on just the number of officers and those kinds of things. So I'm really going to be curious as this rolls out to hear more about the subjective voice about what we want versus what we need as far as square footage and space. And so I'm just hoping when that, if this passes, that the architect and perhaps the mayor now and the chief, that we do have an objective voice at the table as far as, need versus want.
I think the way it work out, Councilman, is once we have the meetings and we have the conceptual agreement, it would come back to council and say, it's going to be 5,000, it's going to be 4,500, it's going to be 5,500, whatever it is.
And I think
so no one's going to plow straight ahead until you know what. Yeah.
Right.
And just to refresh everyone, what this council has done, and I think very wisely, is we put X amount of money off to the side for the project, and we have said that's all we're going to take out of our tax base. Everything else in addition to that has to come from allocations. But in order to get those allocations, you have to do these things. You have to do these site plans and what, otherwise, nothing happens. So the comforting thing is all the expenses that we put into this going forward come out of the money that's put to the side. So we're not taking any new money out. So if we have 600,000 and change and we spend 30, what is this, 35,000? That's, you know, it's gonna be 580 and change. That's in the pot, okay?
Thank you for hearing
Okay.
my suggestions. My vote will be predicated on differences of opinion with land use for Powell Road and conversations with taxpayers.
One of the things, if I can just speak ahead of it, is when we make this decision on this, we're not only making a decision on what the needs of the police are now.
Understood.
You have to understand, this police department has been there for 100 years. Theoretically, this one can be there for 100 years. So we have to be proactive. We have to plan it in a way that it suffices for now and what the needs are 20 years from now. All right, Chief? All right. So where we at with this? I'm telling you that I am struggling tonight.
You had a motion, didn't you, Andy? You had a motion.
Are we done with
and a
public
second.
comment?
You had a motion, a second, you had a public comment, you had council discussion.
So the vote would be to approve the 32,167. Okay, any further discussion?
Council, I could be mistaken, but I believe the motion was to appoint the mayor.
Oh,
Yeah, we
we didn't
did.
get to
We
this
did.
part yet, you're right.
But we did that on consensus.
No, you made
That-
a motion.
There was a motion, that motion could be removed, and certainly you don't need a motion to do that, and you've taken public comment. So you would either need to, at this point procedurally, you can act on that motion appointing the mayor, that could be withdrawn, or, and then, well, regardless of how that unfolds, the next step is to address the actual
Okay, thank you.
IPO itself.
Sounds like you're the only one that's locked and loaded tonight. I mean, thank you.
Sorry, pay the big bucks.
Okay, public discussion of what this would be about the mayor, myself.
I thought we just did that.
So we done with that?
That's
Or
not.
we have to have a vote on that? It's done.
You can have a vote on it because it's a motion that's been made and seconded. It could be withdrawn because a motion is not required. So if you just want to go ahead and vote on it, that's fine. Otherwise, you'd have to have a motion to withdraw it.
Just those. Aye.
Did we have?
Aye.
Yeah, but we have to have public discussion.
Yeah, we just did.
That on whether or not I'm going to be the liaison.
No, we did, that was what we
Okay,
had.
that was a mistake.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay, unanimous. All right,
Now, before that motion was made, Vice Mayor motioned to authorize the mayor to sign the IPO. It was seconded by Councilwoman Williams. During council discussion, Councilwoman Covage made a motion to have the mayor represent council at the staff meetings, but there was never a vote on the actual motion to approve the IPO.
And we had public comment. So we're up for vote.
okay. Any further
What was that?
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, we have four to one. Okay, we go to number 14, the lease agreement 2022-01 holiday outdoor decor. I guess that would be you, Troy, right?
Yes. Council, this is the lease agreement that we have every year from the holiday outdoor decor. We talked at the workshop about exploring potential alternative options. And don't make me yawn in the middle of my sentence. And unfortunately, I have not been able to meet with their project manager to look at other options for this year. Now, he hasn't reached out to me and I haven't heard from him, but I will be following up with him tomorrow to see. But for right now, I would like to ask for authorization to go ahead and approve the lease agreement for our street lights for Christmas.
And what is the amount? It's $5,882.
Yes.
Okay, public comment. Our street, Christmas street lighting. Who's going to be the Grinch and get up there and say they're against it? Okay, no vote. Tim, why was I looking at you?
No. Where's Michael?
Where's your what?
All right, public comment has been taken. We have a motion.
I'm authorized the mayor to sign a lease agreement LEA 2022-01 with Holiday Outdoor Decor in the amount of $5,882.
We have a second.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, we go to number 15, the discussion on the historic wayfinding signs. I'm sure this is Georgina.
Staff is collecting information on county permitting at time on this subject. We have also identified an exact location for the wayfinding signs, which will need your final approval. There are two wayfinding signs. One will be, of course, with council's blessing, installed in front of 20625 West Pennsylvania Avenue. And the other will be installed on the corner of West Pennsylvania Avenue and Cedar Street by the Art Gallery, again with your blessing. City facilities such as the City of Denellen Fire Station, the Public Works Service Center, and the Ernie Mills Park will be identified, as well as the Denellen Chamber of Business Association on this wayfinding signs. And Mandy, if you can pull up the layout from the beginning.
These are the ones you're talking about specific to right now.
Yes,
Right.
those are the specific ones, right? And
I'm just trying to make them a little bit bigger so they can see them.
and then as you can see, it's going to be double-sided. So you're going to have the face side A with the same names as on the back, so that people are traveling from one side or the other can see it. There will be 8 empty spaces for businesses to be featured within this 2 wayfinding signs for phase 1 of this project. So you'll have two spots in this one and 6 on the other one. Staff recommends that you use Florida Sign Group, a Graflex company, as they did Weston's wayfinding signage and showed great expertise and knowledge in design, construction, and even installation. And they have provided staff with the installation process and how that all gets done through drawings, which is the final step there. Not that one, but the last page. That one right there. So that shows exactly how it needs to be installed. And that was discussed among staff this afternoon. And that should satisfy the DOT requirements. Total cost of this project, including installation and permitting, will be provided during November, the council meeting. So we will have a full estimate with including the cost of installation and permitting at that time. And if Troy wants to add anything to it, you're more than welcome to.
All right. Yeah, council, we did get out and look exactly where these signs were going to go. We have the mounting procedures provided by the company, so the next steps I'll be taking is to make sure that we can actually mount them in those 2 designated or selected locations without any impact to utilities or underground services. As you can see, we're going to dig a 3-foot hole by 2 foot in diameter and fill it with concrete. So I'll be working on that. I did get the DOT specifications, and we'll be cross-referencing the Florida Florida administrative codes, as well as the MUTCD, which is your traffic codes for vehicular wayfinding signage in municipal streets. But we're moving forward. We have a little more data to collect, and each step of the way we'll bring it back to you. Okay?
Thank you. Council, any questions, comments?
I was talking to a business over there at Pennsylvania Avenue, and I was she had said something like, oh, I wish we had ways to, like we do over in Pittsburgh. I was like, well, funny, you should say that. I was like, and we're gonna be able to, she's like, you can buy it. I was like, yeah, well, I don't know what the price is gonna be yet, but, and just one more reminder, these funds are not coming from our general fund. These are coming from TIF funds, which are CRA funds, which can only be spent in certain areas. So it's not like we can go and put these monies to new roads.
Thank you.
So I just want to make sure everybody is passing that information along.
And I have a comment from a friend
Thank
who's
you.
been here in Dunellen as long as I have, that we need to do something to make downtown look different.
Yep. Amen.
So Georgina, if I can ask you a question or two. There was some discussion about two different companies. Have you yet, and there seemed to be pros and cons on both. One of the main differences is one company, the fees seem to be sizably more, but we were wondering if quality offset the expense. So has staff yet zeroed in and prepared to recommend one company over the other?
I've recommended Graflex because of the experience I've already had with them at Weston. And I know that they're a reputable company and very responsible. They know exactly how to do these signs. They do this in and out. Like I said before, Weston has over $1 million contract with them. They do all their signage. So it's
You
very
ever, I
reliable.
can't remember, I know you've shown photos of signs. Have you actually ever shown council on photos, actual pictures of the Weston? I think you have, haven't you?
Yes, I did that at the beginning.
That'd be good
when
to
I
do
first
that again.
brought the idea. Sure.
Do that again. So let's just summarize so we know where you're at. When you first approached council, you had this grand vision of doing it pretty much in an expanded area of the historic section. After a lot of discussion back and forth, you've modified what you're wanting to do. You're kind of, seems to me, if I'm right, wanting to do what Art Jones is doing with his project. You're wanting to pick a certain area and see how it looks, see how it goes. Is that correct? So the area you focused on is it would be the West Pennsylvania
That is
area,
correct.
right? Okay.
It's going to be the street that is being, I guess, not targeted, but where we want to bring Main Street to, the downtown area of our town.
Right. So the hope is, if we do it and it's fantastic, we eventually expand it as your vision is. And if we do it and we go, ooh, it's just limited to that one area. Correct? Is that?
Well, it's going to be limited to this area now for the purposes of funding, but eventually,
So how much of the 250,000 or whatever the number is, how much of that money would be spent on this facet of the project?
this is, it was, I think, 34,000 and change. I can't remember the exact amount.
So that's what I'm saying. We're not putting 250,000 on the table and choosing black or red, right? We're just putting a portion of that and we're seeing how it comes out. All right? So I think there's a little comfort in that. I think a lot of the pushback on this was that kind of commitment for the entire amount. Okay, that's my comment.
Thank you.
May I add something?
Yeah.
I just want to say that I do support Georgina's recommendation when it comes to the company. I think the folks over at Custom Glass are great people, and they would be great to use for small jobs, for signage. Like, we're going to use them for perhaps the exit and entry out here in City Hall parking lot, because those signs look terrible. They're great, but this is not their specialty. And we met with Glenn a couple weeks ago, and he's willing to try, but it's just going to be a more piecemeal project if we go that route, and it's really not their area of expertise. They're great in a lot of other areas, but if we're going to go with a company that has the wayfinding sign experience, I agree with Georgina in what she's recommending.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? What would you expect you will be saying to council a month from now?
I'll give you an exact figure of expenses and the cost of the signs, including the installation and everything else.
Installation, who's going to do it, how much it's going to cost?
Do you think we would have a contract ready by November?
We don't need a contract. I spoke to them and the quote they sent in can be signed, and that would be used as the contract.
Okay, so this is just a
Is our
discussion.
attorney,
I
so
will-
they not have a contract?
I will bring it to his attention.
Just to have a purchase order? That's fine, of course, if there's elements or something that there may be a dispute or so forth, it might be a good idea to include some terms, and that could certainly be worked into the purchase order.
And he will make a revision of the quote just to make sure we have everything covered.
I'm sure
before
if
it
they
comes
work
to
with
you.
the cities already, that they know exactly what
Yes,
we
they
want.
believe me.
Thank you.
Okay, we're getting there.
We're getting there, one step at a
Sorry.
time,
Eating, chewing on an elephant, right? One bite at a time.
one bite at a time.
I think
That's
we're up
right.
to the knee right
That's my
now.
motto since I started here.
Got a lot to go. All right, we're done with that. Very good, council. Some of the stuff's been quite complicated, you know. Council liaison reports and comments. Does anybody have anything to report, and if you want any comments? Mr.
Actually, I would just like to get permission from council to meet with Georgina and Judy Terwillinger, possibly Troy if he wants to jump in. There's that grant that's been discussed, the Mobile T Hometown Grant. And sometime before the next workshop, if we could open up that grant, take a look at it. There's, my opinion, absolutely no need to hire someone to write up that grant for us. It's a cut and dry, fill in the, basically a two-paragraph narrative. Troy would talk to a couple contractors, and we wrap it up real quick.
And if I may, I wanted to add, I had it in my notes to add it as department head comments, but I missed that specific item. But I am preparing the plan for the T-Mobile to present it to you all. And I've contacted vendors that do this sort of thing so that we can add it into the plan. So if we are gonna meet, it would be great because I can show you, and then if there's anything that needs to change or whatever needs to be added, we can add it at that point and bring it to council in November. That's what I was planning.
You're good? You're gold.
Pardon?
You're gold.
Okay.
Okay, any
Thank
other
you for
comments?
reminding me.
Jan, I'm just curious, I know Judy brings a lot because of the Chamber of Commerce. What is Judy bringing to the meeting about the T-Mobile grant? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Speaking to
What is Judy bringing to the meeting about the T-Mobile grant? What is she
Because
offering?
Judy is she is the events coordinator for the city of Dunellen. And once we, if we get fortunate enough to receive grant money to go ahead and enhance the stage, the plan was to put walls against it for sound reflection, a tent, because if we plan an event in the afternoon, evening, whatever, and we have a little shower, people are protected. We already have, of course.
I got it, because it's Judy and the
nice
events.
stage,
Thank
right.
you very much.
And chairs, 100 or maybe 150 folding chairs. Okay, so that's basically it.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Williams?
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
I would just like, regarding one, I was trying to read my notes, God help us. One rake at a time, I'd like to try and maybe, and I took your comments to heart when you said, let's get them through the,
Permitting process.
not even the permitting process, that first step of getting the survey done that they're doing. But I would, if that goes forward, I would like for us as a council to think about adding that in to the 2023-2024 budget of some amount of money. And Jan, that's where you would have to figure out which department that would have to come from. Congratulations. It's for the citizens that are going to want to, okay. And, sorry, I was trying to read my handwriting. And then when I've been out wandering around the streets of Dunellen, they ask, there's some new citizens that have moved into town, and they're like, where can we volunteer? What can we do? And I was telling them about the one rake at a time, and the actions that they can take and volunteer with, and they were so excited about that. So again, I think if we can, as a city, give some funding, that'll be fantastic. But I think this is a citizen-driven project that the citizens can really step up and volunteer with. So city can help encourage and give some funding, but I think the citizens are going to really be the ones who make this all happen. If it all goes according to plan, as they say, and we have to get all the feedback and the information. I take your wisdom wisely, but I have optimism for it.
I do too. Could I just add to Valerie's comments?
No.
If you must.
Yeah, could we put this discussion on the agenda for November?
What's that?
More further discussion about contributing to the suction dredging project.
I already have it.
You already have it.
Yeah, I'd already suggested that.
There's something out there in the way of, because Art was saying, the question was asked, well, what are we going, if we give you 5,000, how would you use that money? And he said for education and furthering the public outreach and so on, which is great. But there actually is a grant available through SWIFTBUD for exactly that. And I don't know if he's aware of that.
Well, I would say Art would be happy if it was 500. He'd be happy if it was 1,000. He just wants to be.
Let's put it on the agenda. And
He just wants to be able to think Dunellen has put some skin in the game, and
But I'm saying.
we all know how that works.
Yeah,
You kind
I
of build a list.
Mr. Mayor, can I mention something? I just thought of something.
Sure.
Just a question. At the Dunellen Days, Saturday.
Speak it to your microphone.
Oh,
Sorry, babe.
Some of us don't hear so well anymore.
I'll be surprised if somebody can't hear me.
Speak like you're in your church. You won't even need it.
No, you don't want. You don't want. I praise the Lord really hard.
I've been in my church a couple times, I know.
But anyway, at the Dunellen Days, Paul Hamilton asked me what were we doing about his request. So I just want to throw that out there.
He asked me to.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, let's move on that.
That was Dunellen Community Services.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
maybe
what
we
that was
put that
Saturday.
one on
That
the
needs to
agenda
be-
for the workshop.
You bet.
He expressed, he said that he had put a request into the city for $15,000 for his nonprofit, and he
See, I
was
wasn't
looking
gonna
for
tell the
a
amount. I just.
Well, it's public.
I know. I just.
Well, put it on the workshop, man.
But that's what we
I mean, that was something that was mentioned by Patrick maybe
Patrick Shepherd,
6
yes.
months ago.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, in my mind, I'm trying to exactly remember that.
I believe there was a letter that was submitted to council, and I'll have to go back and look.
I remember, but when they came but I was expecting them to talk about it at that time, that meeting, and they never asked
never
for
brought
it.
it up.
So they never brought it up to us.
Right.
So that's kind of why I thought,
Who never brought it up?
There was never a monetary.
there was never a monetary request
Figure.
here at the city council.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I just have a few comments. Just Just to remind everybody that next Saturday is the Twin Rivers Concert, which is a big deal. Chief? This Saturday coming up. Chief, you ready for that? There's going to be a lot of beer drunk that night.
I know the Cobras are.
A lot of rock and roll.
The two go together.
Also want to compliment Paula, who came up with the idea of having this talent show.
Oh.
And they had it Saturday at the Episcopal Church in Blue Cove, and it was a smashing success, the number of people that came out, the kids and whatever. So hopefully this is something that it demonstrated the success of people that wanted to come in and, you know, dance, sing, play a flute. It was really kind of cool.
The way she came.
What she wants to do is expand that into possibly a yearly event, and try to move it into Ernie Mills Park.
I'd love to do a city council skit. I think that would be hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm serious. That would be so cute.
I'm looking for ways all the time to try to utilize our beautiful Ernie Mills Park with this parking and whatever. It just sits there saying, come use me, and there's just...
My neighbor had a birthday party there Saturday.
That's good.
I mean, all the way, her kids all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. They were there.
That's good. As far as City Beach, I want to make a couple comments on the shelters. Because I live in proximity to City Beach, in the summertime especially, usually every weekend, or for sure every other weekend, I visit the park just to look, talk to the attendants and whatever. And the one shelter that we have there is used constantly. There's always someone in that one shelter, out of the sun, sitting in the picnic table. As Troy said to a question, I believe, Vice Mayor, is it used? You say sometimes you have to take a reservation on it, correct? So if there's any doubt, I mean, no, I'm not saying it is used. So what I conceptualize as far as that park, that's our little city park. Blue Run Park has entities in it, the county, the state, whatever. But this little park is our park. And I think we should continue as the years go by to earmark certain dollars to continue to improve that park. I think right now putting those 2 weather shelters in there is a tremendous improvement. And anyone who has not gone down to that park and looked at the one that's there, you need to go down there. And I would recommend the council, you need to go down there every once in a while, talk to the attendants and check it out. Having 2 more of those things will be tremendous. Down the road, what I'd like to recommend, the signage in that park is deplorable. It's old, it's antiquated, some of them are bent, look like a hurricane went through there. Some of them have tape over it with scribbling on it. So in a future budget, that signage needs to be freshened up. We also, knowing that this park is heavily used by children, maybe the biggest park for children because of swimming, they need to do something when they're tired of swimming. And we should have a nice playground there, a nice equipment there. If there's a park where the kids are there and would use it, as I see parks put playground equipment, it's in a direct sun, it's in a park that's not connected to anybody, and it just sits there. I guarantee you that would be used big time. So I would like, as we can, to look at those 2 projects, the signage and the playground equipment. I also would like to add on to what Vice Mayor said in our workshop. She seemed to suggest that possibly in our coming budgets that we put a continual amount of money in our budget for river repair, river restoration. I think that's a wonderful idea. There's always something we can do with $5,000 or $10,000 to do our share to improve the Rainbow River. And I can't emphasize to you that everything you're hearing about the Rainbow River, from the bridge to the confluence, the only place that it's clear and sandy bottom is the direct channel. Anything from the channel to the bank is muck, anywhere from ankle to thigh deep. regardless of what the environmentals say about the nitrates and cutting it down and all that, that is not going to remove the muck. The muck is from what's been sprayed over the years. It's the dead vegetation. We could eliminate all the nitrates, and that muck is still going to sit there. It ain't going nowhere. So the idea that Art's coming up with a plan to try to remove that muck, I'm fascinated by it, because you can eliminate all the agriculture in the area, the septic tanks and all the nitrates, and the river will really improve, but that muck's going to sit there. And his plan, I have a piece of property that at the end of my property, there's a canal and then an island. When I bought my property, it was so full of muck and plants, you couldn't walk or boat to it. I hired someone with a permit to come out there and demuck that, clear that out and suck that muck out of there. And 15 years later, it still looks beautiful. Still looks beautiful. And it was absolutely one of the most hideous things you'd ever see before I did that. So I have proof positive. It might need some maintenance once in a while, like everything does, but the project I did, it cost me $7,000. Thought that was a lot of money at the time, and it was, but what I got out of it was amazing. So I've seen it, it does work, and I like the idea that Art's doing sort of what Georgina's talking about, rather than jumping headfirst into the pool. He's picking a small area to test it out. I feel very comfortable with that. And I hope council moves in that direction to try to support the river. So those are my comments. All good, all good. Anything else?
Actually, you would think so.
Okay, attorney?
Yes, Council, just something very quickly, seeing as that it's somewhat speculative, but I think just important to touch on. This is in regard to quorum requirements and how meetings are conducted in the wake of emergencies and disasters. Just wanted to let you know that, and unfortunately, since Marion County, they're outside of the order, and so Marion County isn't directly impacted. But there are some orders that are coming out from the Florida Division of Emergency Management that are really, I think, causing confusion among local government attorneys and how to apply it, simply because they're put together quickly. And there were a number of questions that existed back with the COVID situation. So fresh off the heels of COVID and seeing what we have to seem to have a condition where storms are intensifying as far as a trend goes, I just wanted to point that out, and this may be something that is addressed via legislation, because right now it's addressed on an ad hoc basis and is causing some issues. So I just wanted you all to make you aware of that, since that is something that could potentially affect the council in emergency situations in the future, or regarding attendance in general when it comes to electronic attendance of meetings. It's just something that I will keep you apprised of. I don't have anything else other to report than I think that the issues are becoming apparent and there is a solution that's needed. And ultimately, any solution would affect the city. So just want to let you know that I'll keep an eye on that. That's all I have.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I want to thank those of you that have hung in there with us. A lot of this tedious, monotonous resolutions, working through it, kind of tough. Council, thanks for hanging in there. And we have a motion to adjourn.
See you later.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.